So there's been a bunch of updates to hero talents recently through Alpha. Let's see how they're ranking out recently. All I've been hearing about is Mountain Thane and how freaking great it is. Let's see what some of these other hero talents look like, ranking the winners and losers within the War Within Alpha.
Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to have some fun. So, hero talents, right. They were controversial. They may still be controversial, but the good news from Alpha is that I think a lot of fears are overblown. Not everybody has got lucky. We will talk about the losers, but just check out this. I mean, that's cool footage. So, I thought today, what I'm going to do is take you on a quick tour of hero talents and answer the question, did your class win the hero talents roulette? Did you get something cool, something fun, something fantasy defining, or do you have a stack of passives that you'll barely notice? Either way, we're going to go through the winners and the losers. Maybe this will inform your class decision for this expansion, and you'll see some nice shiny spell effects as well.
See, here's one thing about me that I don't understand about other people. Some people will change their class based on whatever's going on in the game. They want to play the meta DPS, they want to play the best healer, they want to play the best whatever, they'll switch it up. You know what your boy does? He plays Blood DK through thick and thin, no matter what. I'm going Blood DK. If it's the shittiest tank in the game, I'm going to play it. Why? Because I'm just that good. I make it good. I don't give a shit.
But first, you'll see today's sponsor.
ZBiotics is the world's first bioengineered probiotic for rough post-night out mornings. It is a pre-alcohol probiotic invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And basically, when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct called acetaldehyde in the gut. And this byproduct, not dehydration, that is what's to blame for the rough next day. So,
Bellular's getting out there with
an enzyme to break that byproduct down and assist your body in catching up. Just remember to drink the probiotic before drinking alcohol, to drink responsibly, and to get a good night's sleep for your best tomorrow. And ultimately, I decided to go ahead with them because my experience has been great. Basically, I drank ZBiotics. I had a few pints, enough that certainly...
A few pints, yeah. Bellular getting shit drunk while he's making YouTube content. This is great.
30. I would absolutely feel it the next morning. So... I used ZBiotics. I shifted work forward an hour so that I would still get enough sleep, which is very important.
Oh yeah, Moishi, you're a freaking scientist.
At how much I was able to get done the next day. So ultimately, I'm happy to add this as a tool to my belt. And if you're interested, go to zbiotics.com/Bellular or just scan this QR code on the screen to get 15% off your first order when you use code Bellular.
Use code Bellular.
And that code also works with a subscription, so you can stay prepared. And in addition to having a good experience myself, the other reason why I went with them is that they do have a 100% zero questions asked money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will just refund all of your money back without asking any questions. zbiotics.com/Bellular. Use the code Bellular for 15% off. Thanks for the sponsorship. I think this is a really dope product. Most importantly of all, though,
I did not expect
responsibly. With that said, let's go.
So, after a few days of painstakingly cramming our brains full of tooltips and watching animations, devising a rating system and putting it all into a spreadsheet, it's time to go. So I'll be going through the major winners, the drastic losers, in the form of a tier list because it's the modern day, and honestly, I think they're kind of useful. Now, we're mostly focusing today on class fantasy, right? The cool factor, how things feel to play with, the actual in-game strength and balance. That will change so much from Alpha to Live that there's really no point in talking about it now, anyway, but we will later. Let's start with the big one. What is the best hero talent set in the game? And honestly, it's barely even a question because it's Voidweaver Priest. We've actually had two people in our guild re-roll Shadow Priest just because of how cool this looks. For Shadow and Disc, you basically get to lean into a new cosmic void effect by opening an entropic rift.
This is kind of cool, but it's really just like a reskin of that mage ability. Don't frost mages have that like frost orb that they shoot out? That's what it looks like. It's just void.
Turning one of your abilities into Void Blast to extend it, and you can summon a Void Wraith. It leans into all of the cool stuff about Void. Everything looks and feels pretty damn good to use too, and it's just a perfect example of what a hero does.
They're basically reskins of frost mages. That's what it feels like, because they even have the Void Wraith. They have like the pet like a frost mage does.
Perfect example of what a hero talent can be. It expands the existing class fantasy to take it to the next level, and it just looks kind of amazing. There are some gameplay concerns that need to be ironed out, like the rift duration and how that plays with Void Eruption and some other talents, and I guess my feedback for Blizzard would be that when something gets a glow up like this, that's actually when you can start to get a lapsed player to re-up their sub. Okay, we've done the best. What's the worst
What's
then?
the worst? Oh, shit.
Unfortunately, at least to us, the worst is
Don't tell me
Pack
Hunter.
Leader for Beast Mastery and Survival Hunter. The fantasy
Do you know why I said don't tell me Hunter? Because they also got the shittiest tier set. What is happening to them? I feel bad for Hunters now. And I never say this because fuck them. They're always pulling shit in my raids. But damn it, I feel bad for Hunters. They got the worst tier set, and now they got the worst freaking hero talent. Shit, somebody's hating on Hunters at this play. But somebody in Blizzard clearly got wronged by a Hunter at some point in their life, and they are just shitting all over them right now.
different to playing a regular hunter. It doesn't really summon any new animals despite its name, and all it really does is add some passive bonuses and extra resets to Barbed Shot, Raptor Strike, and Kill Command.
To be fair, I mean, Beast Mastery Hunter kind of already has some of the coolest animations in the game. I mean, the fact that they summon an army of pets is pretty cool, and they charge it. They already have very cool looking animations, so maybe it's not all, you know, the world is ending, but they could have gotten something cool out of this. It's Pack Leader, come on.
Right? Just throws that into your rotation, which honestly to us just made it feel a bit busier. There was no pacing, just buttons flashing on top of each other. It's not terrible.
I think what would have been badass, what they should have done with Pack Leader, and I'm just spitballing here, they should have had some kind of ability where your character, you know, like the way that the Death Knight one, I've seen people do it where like they can mount up and attack. Pack Leader should have been like you get on the back of a giant dire wolf, all your pets come up behind you, and you charge forward. Like, that would have been some kind of badass ability. That would have been very Hunter-esque and, like, lore-fulfilling. That would have been fucking crazy. I'm not going to lie. I would have tried that shit. But I guess they're not getting anything cool. So there it is.
But it just feels like very, very, very
or
little.
Or you combine with your
compared
pet.
to
Yeah,
the
like some kind of
amazing things
interaction
that
with
some
your
other
pet.
classes are getting. But that said, let's talk about the really good stuff. Death Knight's Rider of the Apocalypse doesn't do a huge amount for gameplay, but experientially it's amazing because you have
This is so
mounted
cool.
combat outdoors. You are doing quests on your mount. It is
This
sick.
is so
And that's all
cool.
while abilities are summoning in your four mates from Arcturus, the Four Horsemen. It's honestly just a joy to like drop a Frostworm or summon in Army of the Dead and watch the four most fearsome Death Knights in game just start.
This is literally, you're living out your Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse fantasy. Oh my god. Is Rider of the Apocalypse going to be available for Blood? I know that the vampire one is going to be, what the hell are they called? Yeah, but this is unbelievable. Like, I want to try this. This is crazy. Mounted combat with your Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse at your back. Holy shit. It's not. I'm going to have to play like an alt spec or something just to try this out.
Your opponent, each in their own way. You get some cooldowns being reduced and generally just passive boosts from
Give
your
DKs
horsemen.
more movement,
but
yeah.
basically here, it's the fantasy that is giving this
is
the
amazing.
S rank. And that's especially when, if you're in a raid or a dungeon and therefore can't mount, what it does is it replaces Death's Advance with a better version of the Paladin's
That's so
Divine
cool.
Steed. Of course,
A better version of the Paladins. That's right. Yeah, fuck you, Paladins and shit.
maneuverability has been a bit of a long sticking point. The idea of a Death Knight is they don't move quick, but you basically can't stop them. Well, here you can certainly move quick more, so I think people will love that. The next one then is what I was most recently playing in Alpha, and that is the Templar
here's the
Paladin. If the word Templar doesn't make you reach
This
for
is
your
cool.
great helm and your heretic bludgeoning mace, you're not a real Paladin player. But in WoW, Templars rain down hammers from the heavens. What
This
it
is
does
awesome.
is it makes Wake of Ashes and Eye of Tyr become combo attacks with Hammer of Light. Now, Hammer of Light
Yeah, I watched Towley play this, and it actually looked really cool. You are legit raining hammers down constantly, and he was running a dungeon, so like there were multiple mobs, and you just saw hammers coming down. It was really, really cool. I'm not gonna lie, I joke about Paladins, but they actually have some really cool stuff coming, and their tier set was okay. Their helm was badass, but in terms of Paladin fantasy, Hallowfall's sets are gonna fulfill every fucking Crusader Templar fantasy you've ever wanted to live out. So I think Paladins are going to be in a good place going forward.
costs 5 holy power, and it does a ton of damage, right? It looks awesome. I mean, you do your Wake of Ashes, and then immediately
at those
hammers are
hammers.
raining from the sky. When swung, what it does is it grants a chunk of haste, and it starts Shake the Heavens. And Shake the Heavens just has hammers fall on your
That's so
enemies
cool.
while you're keeping it up.
Look when he pulls a big mob.
It sounds cool. It looks cool. It decimates packs of mobs. And on top of that, you get another 2 extra seconds of move speed on your Divine Steed.
Look at
which,
the hammers.
yeah,
Boom. Oh my god. Just fucking raining hammers, obliterating
pretty awesome.
mobs.
Druid
That's
of the
cool.
Claw, good news, it's a winner. Feral and Guardian get the best fantasy that there is, being pre-Mists of Pandaria Druid, essentially. So cats get bonus damage for a while in bear form, and bears get bonus survivability and bonus damage for a few seconds in cat form, and that lets you weave between them in combat.
This is actually really cool, because I feel like this is a fantasy that you don't get to live out that often as a druid, but I feel like it should be. Like, being able to mid-fight transform is such a cool thought, like, cinematically to imagine it. Like, you're just flipping between different animal forms in the middle of a fight. So I think that's pretty cool that this, I guess, Druid of the Claw allows you to do that shit. That's pretty neat.
That is on top of a new proc that replaces their spender with a bigger, better attack called Ravage and a bunch of smaller, nicer changes. Essentially, you're getting proper hybrid power, but in a way that is not going to wreck the game's balance. It basically just gives you a lot of ways to pop off and essentially show your mastery over the full Druid toolkit without needing Heart of the Wild to be up. It is really cool. It basically just makes your gameplay feel way more druidy. Warlocks, then, you guys are getting a great time with Diabolist. Might not be the best name, but it plays awesome.
Is it Diabolist or Diabloist? I don't know. Is this like a UK US thing? Like, we just don't understand each other? I call it Diabloist. He calls it Diabloist? I don't know.
So Destro and Demo get bonus demons everywhere, with summoning timers that you decrease by throwing out more spells. So you're summoning in a Pit Lord or a Mother Shavara, and that would give your next casts basically new animations, new icons, and new effects. So it basically does make you feel like some sort of big legendary warlock. It's pretty sweet.
That's pretty cool. So you basically got these demon boys just popping up, shooting shit, and then disappearing. Did you see that? Look over the shoulder right here.
So it basically does make you feel like some sort of big legendary warlock. It's pretty sweet.
Pretty cool.
Finally, for our winners then, mages. You guys actually get two that are worth writing home about. So, Frostfire gives Frost a bunch of fire effects, and it gives Fire a bunch of Frost effects. Just look at Frostfire Bolt. This thing looks amazing. And
I was about to say, I don't remember Frostfire Bolt looking like that. The swirling fire around the ice, that's pretty cool.
So, Frostfire gives Frost a bunch of fire effects, and it gives Fire a bunch of Frost effects. Just look at Frostfire Bolt. This thing looks amazing, and the instant proc of it that maxes out your new buffs is really fun. And just having Living Bombs and Ice Novas, Meteors, and Comet Storms just going off like mad, honestly, it just feels absolutely amazing. You do feel like a very, very...
That's how it used to look, but it was bigger. I haven't played Mage in a long time, but that whether that effect is new or old, it looks really cool. But I like how much they're throwing
just
here.
The spell effects, the way that the Frost and Fire stuff looks together.
Damn.
Yeah. It's just experientially very strong. What's next for the mages is really cool. Now, a lot of the best hero talent trees, they're making you feel stronger, and they're pushing your class forward into feeling a bit better and a bit different. Some, though, like the Sunfury tree, are just giving you what you've wanted for 20 years. In this case, it's Kel'Thas, one of the more iconic mages in Warcraft, where you see
Oh my god, there's Phoenix animations? So I did play Fire Mage. I started playing my DK like around Legion time, but I played Fire Mage very intensely before that. Like, basically from BC all the way through Legion, I played Fire Mage. And holy shit, yes, one of the fantasies that I wanted to live out was to be Kael'thas, freaking playing off of Phoenix Flames and shit like that. This is really cool.
You know, his balls that are floating around his head doing magic things, and summoning in phoenixes. And the Sunfury Mage is that exactly.
This has got to be bugged, though. Why the fuck is the Phoenix shooting in the wrong direction? But that looks really cool. That's a really cool animation.
You summon in an Arcane Phoenix that fires off massive spells, it buffs the hell out of you, and that's all as you're launching spells out of your Spellfire orbs that are floating around your head. It's really cool.
Shooting all the
Arcane
targets.
and Fire Mages should both get a lot of joy out
I
of
love the orbs. You know what's really cool about these orbs right now? I'm about to fucking nerd out. But you see how there's like an arcane ring around the fire? If you don't know this, the difference between shamans using fire and mages using fire is a mage doesn't actually control the fire in any way. They use arcane magic to control the element of fire. So they basically, you know, wield it within an arcane ball and throw it. So look at the animation on these orbs right here. That's exactly what it looks like. Like, that fantasy is actually being realized here.
A lot of joy out of this one, actually. It makes your...
There's like little arcane rings. You could see even little runes on them around the fire. That's freaking really cool.
Already pretty crispy. Burst windows even more crispy. And when the Phoenix goes out, it goes out in flames, giving you a massive proc for a few seconds of damage.
That's a lot of fire.
Overall, it just comes together really well.
Oh my god, this is badass. Look at all that fire.
In both cases, I think these are nailing the fantasy.
This is like full-on pyro. This is really cool.
So, that's the best of the best. That's the S tier stuff, the winners. What then?
Exactly.
About the
Shamans act more like an avatar, the cartoon avatar where they can bend the elements, to their will. That's different than what a mage does.
users? Well, unfortunately, Hunters, not to bully you guys, but the Sentinel tree is also pretty lacking. It is very race-focused, with Arcane Sentinel Owls being a night elf thing. Bit weird for orcs or taurens summoning in those. I mean, if you're a night elf hunter, it'll certainly fit, but
What's
I
happening
just
to
think
hunters?
the fantasy isn't really applicable across everyone who can be a hunter. And as for the gameplay, it's just a stack of passives that are based around, well, stacking up a passive and watching it explode. Now, the Lunar Storm proc looks pretty great, but that's kind of all it's got going
that's
for it.
it.
A little bit weak. Next up, we've got monks. So you guys do get some...
Man, so far hunters are just limp dicking through this expand. I feel bad. Don't not play hunter. If you enjoy playing hunter, play it. I'm sure they'll fix some of this shit on the back end. Remember, this is alpha, but still, Jesus.
Good stuff, but sadly, Shadowpan for Windwalker and Brewmaster is, well, it's just a bit sad, really. They essentially store up charges for their Flurry Strikes proc. But that's kind of hard to notice amongst all of the different and better animations they're throwing out all the time, and the Wisdom of the Wall capstone proc doesn't really sell the fantasy of being a Shadowpan. I just think it's personally a bit disappointing, especially since characters like Taran Zoo, well, they went hard. So I definitely think this one could be cooking a bit more. Next, Evoker, where the good news is that Scale Commander does go kind of hard, but it's challenging to imagine people getting excited about flame.
That was pretty cool. They multi-beam.
Playing it is pretty nice. It's a focus on the red side of devastation and preservation, with dots and hots being engulfed in flame. But it's kind of just that mechanically. The Scale Commander fantasy just feels non-existent. So it's not bad, but it's not great. I think that's just what C tier really means. And our last C tier...
I wonder how many people are still going to play Evoker. Because Blizzard did confirm that Drakthir are going to be able to make other classes in the War Within. That is going to happen. So now you're going to have basically the Drakthir are the only ones who are able to be evokers still. They didn't confirm that anyone else can be able to. See, they can only be evokers, but they can also be other things now. So now you're going to have less evokers in the game. I wonder what the percent... It's going to have to be low. They are going to be the lowest class played in the game. Because now you can be other things, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to play other things.
Last C tier is the Paladin's Lightsmith. Now, the idea of making weaponry forged out of the light...
I know, Black Flight Evoker, a melee Evoker using Black Dragonflight spells and shit would have been really badass, but we never got that.
Is pretty cool, say a bit niche, and it basically works as a spell with 2 charges and a 1-minute cooldown. It cycles between Holy Bulwark and Sacred Weapon, giving you a shield or damage buff. And essentially, it's not bad, but it just doesn't really stand out as something that you would be very hyped to log in for or to level up and attain in the new expansion.
Yeah, the hammer one's
I'll definitely
cooler.
be going Templar. Next then, there's a few other misses like Rogue's Trickster, which is a niche fantasy that asks you to use Feint in combat to get some procs. It's got an upgraded finisher that doesn't really feel upgraded, so I'm not sure about that. Next, there's the Druid's Windstalker, which is trying to mix the Resto Hots and Feral Dots together, which does seem smart in terms of in-game systems, but it just doesn't really have the vibe, the feel to come together and really be worthy of the name hero talent. So it does end up being a little bit of a loss for me. So, those are the winners and the losers, at least for now.
That would be cool,
There are, though,
Armando.
still 2 missing from Rogue and Shaman, 1 from Priest as well. So our 4 Heavenly Hero Talent Kings right now are the Mage, the Death Knight, the Priest, and the Warlock. But those may not hold their seats when we're done, because there are other things to come out, and many changes may still happen. And I mostly say that because Stormbringer and Fatebound actually sound amazing, but then so does Archon. Okay, so... that's where things are right now. And if we didn't mention your class or your spec, basically rest easy, you're probably in the middle. Today, we're just kind of taking the most interesting, visually flashy, sort of, fun to play or not fun to play things, like the biggest takeaways from the alpha. We'll be going way more in depth as time goes on. This is essentially the summary of our most notable things from 2 weeks of essentially playing everything that we could. So there will be more in the future. But anyway, that's it from me. Let me know if you're excited for these, of course, and stay tuned because we'll have a new video up tomorrow. We're going pretty damn hard in War Within. All right, have a great day. See you next time.
Getting hard for the War Within is more like it. Yeah, this is a pretty good video. reviewing these hero talents, you know, the Death Knight one was freaking amazing. The Lightsmith one's pretty cool. There was some really cool ones here. The Druid one where you're flipping between, and then there's the Hunter. You know, it is what it is. But the thing is, this is still alpha, right? These are still going to be worked on and fixed. I have to say, in the War Within in total, this is probably the biggest risk Blizzard's taking with this next expansion. These hero talents are a big deal, and I think it's going to be the #1 thing that they're working with and balancing throughout alpha until at least the expansion launches, and I'm sure it'll continue to be a work in progress throughout the expansion. But cool video from Bellular, and man, the Death Knight one, I love it. I love it.